I'm here with Lauren Ziel, and I'm excited about getting to know you better, Lauren. I guess to start with, what does humanness mean to you?
When I think of humanness, I think of this idea of this eternal hope mixed with a lot of fallibility,
Mm.
a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of um, sort of this capacity to self-preserve. And there's a lot of ways that we self-preserve, and sometimes they benefit us at one point in our lives, and then they no longer benefit us later on. The human condition is the depth and dark and deeply troubling things that we can experience, combined with this ability to, and maybe with a little help sometimes, but this ability to overcome. There's a joke, and I don't know if you've heard it, but like when you're in school, maybe undergraduate or in your master's level work or and so on, where it's the joke is that all therapists are crazy, and they're taking these classes to figure themselves out and to figure out their experiences. And I think there is some truth to that. I think that our inherent curiosity about ourselves and how our brain ticks and how our heart beats and all of that definitely plays into, at least I've used it as a way to connect with other people.
Your point about, this, I think of it as this wounded healer, just
Mm-hmm.
because of my background that I have, that
Absolutely.
we talk about archetypes, like this archetype of the wounded healer, and how we use our kind of right deepest wounds to be compassionate, to feel into what maybe the people we're working with are feeling.
Absolutely. And what I think is so great about this project is, like, we're not this all-knowing entity sitting across the room from you. Like, there's a lot that I don't know about you, like the person sitting across from me. There's a lot I'm still learning about myself and this world and my place in it and your place in it, and how we're coming together in this room in this weird situation where it seems kind of contrived, but it's really potentially a vehicle and a space for tremendous vulnerability, but also like safeness in that vulnerability. There's a strange way in working with my clients that make me feel accountable, like that make me remember how much work it takes to figure out yourself. And it's a motivation for me, honestly. Yeah, I think that's actually the really cool part about doing what we do, or being in a profession where you're helping people on such a visceral level, and even emotional level, is you know you it changes you. You learn so much.
Yeah, you're speaking to how it can be transformative for you as the therapist, not that you're being impacted in some way by sitting with this person or working with them. Yeah, that it feeds something in you. Yeah, not in a way that's like, I don't know, impeding like the work, but that it's just, um I'm forgetting the quote, but there's something about that Carl Jung says where it's like sort of alchemical. It's like the two people are in this space and they're both going to be transformed
Mm-hmm.
somehow.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not just about the client
Mm-hmm.
changing. And I just really like that, and that seems to be what you're speaking to.
Absolutely. I just feel like I need to find the quote now. But yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah, I think that the more I can bring myself to the table, my humanness, my fallibility, all of, in a mindful and constructive manner, but the more that I can show up being a human, being Like, I don't know sometimes. I'll tell you when I don't know. I might feel a little silly and wish I actually did know the answer, but if I don't know, like, I I want, in a way, model the vulnerability and model it so that it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've talked a lot, I think, about how humanness shows up in your work as a therapist. I want to talk more about what you kind of chose as your like passion, as
Yeah.
your that represents your humanness, and even like the phrase that you use to describe it, movement is medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I thought that it would just be like, oh, fitness or but yeah, just say more about this idea of movement as medicine, and how that um, yeah, how that's meaningful to you.
Um, yeah, I think I have to like start that with my own experience,
Yeah.
in that when I physically move, when I exert myself, when my heart rate, my respiration is up. Again, this is how I do it. Some people would hate doing that, and I get it. But when I'm sweating and I'm exerting and I'm fully engaged in what my body is doing at that moment, um, and I can feel the strike of my foot against the concrete, when I can feel how I roll my fingers over a dumbbell or a barbell as I move it. It's really, honestly, it's a practice of mindfulness for me. It's a practice of being in the present moment. And there's a degree of like a flow state where it's almost just sort of happening, and there's not a lot of like, you're not really thinking about it, but it parallels with this incredible attunement with your physical being, and it's very grounding for me, and it's very it allows me to take my energy, that because I can very much tend to be all up in my head and be very heady and light and you know pretty anxious, and that using my body to ground me is very effective for me. It calms me down. It allows me. It provides my brain with a little bit of clarity, and being in that moment. But I just found a particular, running, weightlifting, yoga. Those are the things that tend to do it for me. I have discovered dancing, which I don't know that I'm that good at, but I actually really like it. Not in like not yet, at least. I'm not putting it off the table, but not, but like dancing, when you're a kid and like you go climb a tree because there's a tree there and that's what you do. Or like your favorite song comes on and you scream at the top of your lungs in your room or like in the shower. Like, I feel like moving your body in a way that expresses feeling, and you not having to understand exactly why that is so freeing.
Yeah, like honoring the wisdom of your
Exactly.
of the body. Yeah.
Yes, it's a beautiful way of putting it. That's perfect. It's my me time. It really is. It's my me time. And if I can help someone find a little bit of that, it's great. When I start to see someone really come into their body, really come into what their body is capable of, and listening to that intuition, because your physical being holds so much, and it can also let go of so much. And at the same time, I think that the body can also, just kind of like what we talked about in the beginning of, there are ways that we have learned to protect ourselves, right? And the body does that too, right? The body holds on to certain things, just like
my shoulders will just be up here sometimes.
Me too. I'm a constant shoulder shrugger. It's like someone just scared me all the time. So I totally get that. And there's a lot of really awesome research that, where tension is held in the body and where certain, physical maladies are coming out, these somatic sort of presentations of psychological issues. There's so much research out there now.
I guess just to incorporate the somatic piece or the body, it's just widening like the scope of how we look at what it means to be human.
What works for me one day won't work for me the other day, and that's okay. And I think it comes back to learning more about oneself and the motivations we have, the needs and the drives that are bringing us to these behaviors. That is so interesting, and that it's never really, the work is never really finished. At the end of the day, this is something that went over in my yoga teacher training, is the more that we try to keep things from changing, the less satisfied we are with the situations or ourselves, because change is natural. And learning to be okay with the ambiguity and the scariness and the discomfort is probably the biggest skill that one can develop for themselves. That's hard.
It's
work that keeps going. So
yeah, it's such a challenge, I think, to accept like one's own rhythm, right? Like the opposite of, I guess, in my view of being human is like just being a robot, where you would be like this, have the same sensations every day. And you're talking about like having a lot of acceptance or compassion for just each day kind of being different, or maybe one day something worked, or there's like this nuance and complexity and being in the not knowing, or
and then taking that and having a frame of mind where one can look at that and it be terrifying, because it is. I mean, I get that. It's terrifying, but it's also, if you kind of put on your scientist cap a little bit and like have this curiosity about yourself and how you function in the world and why you function in the world, it's almost like this kind of cool ongoing experiment you have with yourself, like figuring out like, all the variables. Thank you, Taz. This is great.
Thank you, Lauren. It was so nice to just get to know you and hear your thoughts a little bit. And
cool. Samesies.